everybody. I'm Mike, and this is not your Mother's Day Fantasy League podcast. It is week 7 of the NFL season. As always, I am joined by Dave and Jason. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
Doing just great tonight, Mike.
Doing great.
Excellent. Crazy week of football we are in the middle of right now. To exemplify how crazy this week has been, I'm just going to talk real quickly about our pick'em pool. So there's only 6 of us in this, or 5 of us. Now, normally, most teams will get, the lowest number of picks correct in a week so far has been 6. That was Nick, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. But this week, nobody will have more than 7. So that's just how crazy this week of NFL football has been. I mean, nobody picked the Bears. Nobody picked the Patriots. Nobody picked the Steelers. Some very unlikely matchups this week.
And you forgot to mention nobody picked the Falcons but me.
Nobody picked the Falcons. One person picked the Ravens. That was Nick, actually. Now I'm giving him too much credit, but nobody expect them to just completely shellac the Lions. I don't.
Yeah, I really thought that Detroit had a chance to win that game, at least put up a fight. But I am surprised that Baltimore dominated that game.
Yeah, so just a crazy week of football, and we've got a ton of drama going into tonight's game. So that should be no surprise considering how crazy this week has been. So, do we want to get into the one trade that we had this week?
Well, actually, we got 3 trades that went down this week.
Oh, that's right. You're going back. Yes.
For the full week, we had 3, and I wrote the first one down. Actually, one of them was a taxi claim. Cincinnati Nick went out and got himself a new quarterback. He had drafted. He sniped Tyson Bagent from the Titans for a 7th round pick. So, and I think Nick went to go watch him play this week. So, I guess that paid off for him. The other trade was, this Braxton and I got a trade done this weekend. I traded him defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, linebacker Alex Anzalon, and safety Julian Blackman for a 2024 4th round pick and a 2025 1st round pick. And then the head scratcher was a trade between the Browns and the Chargers. Not exactly sure what Dan's doing, but I can't question it because Dan's doing better than I am. Dan picked up cornerback Jerry Jacobs, and he gave up Marvin Mims, rookie wide receiver, and a 2024 7th round pick. So good deal for Jared, and I am sure Dan is happy with his new cornerback. He didn't even play him this week once he got him on his roster. So that's the transactions we had this week trade-wise.
That seems to be a trend in our league, trading for guys and then either not starting them or dropping them.
We'll get to that later, though.
Do we have a tally for dead cap on Aaron's team yet?
Ooh, too high to count.
I think he's still at $78 million.
Ooh.
But we ought to have an over or under for the year on that.
That's a good idea. We need to have a side bet going into the draft next season on his dead cap.
So
like it.
Well, he's at $78 million. Over or under, I'd say $90 million. That's a good over under for the next 8 weeks. See what he does with that.
I'd take the over.
We can't let him know about the deal. We can't let him know about the bet because otherwise he'd fix it so he'd actually win something.
That's true. Of course, you're also assuming he doesn't watch the stream. I don't know if he does.
I don't know. I guess I don't take too much crap, so I don't think he does.
We got one viewer though. Welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and get into these matchups. Starting left to right, as always, which means it always starts with mine. Mine's over, though. I got a 97-point lead with my QB and my stud defensive all-pro end. And, yeah, that's just that's going to happen when you have to start Brian Hoyer. Yeah, that's going to happen. So it did. Moving on. A lot of drama here, though. A lot of drama here.
Broncos Chargers. Let's go to Broncos Chargers.
Yeah, so Jared's got a 26-point lead right now, but he's only got 1 to play. Sean's got 3, and he's got a couple studs going.
Well, he's got his head coach going in Shanahan. He's got a running back going in Madison, and of course his linebacker probably Jordan Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
For what it's worth on Jared's side, he's got Minnesota's coach O'Connell going. He's only scored 22 points all year, so it's probably not going to help a whole lot. I think probably as Sean's running back and linebacker, Madison and Hicks probably cover that 26 points combined.
Yeah.
Well,
I put my money on Sean to overcome this 26-point deficit right now.
How many fumbles is Madison going to have? That's the real question. If he fumbles more than twice, maybe Cam Akers is in then at that point.
It's possible.
We'll see where it goes from there.
There was a reason they went and grabbed Akers, that is for sure. And the interesting thing is with both teams having the opposing coaches, that's a 20-point swing. If the Vikings win, then that's a 10-point cushion for Jared.
That's a good point.
But most likely that's not going to happen. Crazier things have happened, especially this week. But man, if the Vikings beat the Niners, I would be shocked. But that is a 20-point swing. And that's a good point, Jason, about Madison. He really hasn't played well. He hasn't even scored a touchdown on the season. Or at least not a rushing touchdown. I can't say for sure about receiving TDs, but
I think along with everyone else, was saying he's probably the most overrated running back in fantasy football. Everyone was super high on him with Cook leaving, and there was a reason why Cook was number 1.
Yeah, I really think all that hype was really just about opportunities or volume of work. And he just hasn't done anything with that volume for sure. So advantage Sean, especially if he gets that win out of Shanahan. Then he only needs 15 points from Jordan Hicks and Madison. That should be pretty
definitely doable.
Well, again, yes. I question, MDFL or the fantasy site. They're, according to the site, they're only giving 1% chance for Sean to pull this out. I guess we have more confidence than the website has in him.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So looks like Jason's going to get a win in division this week.
Needed it.
Even with negative 2.95 out of Deshaun Watson.
Hey, sometimes, you get it done somehow.
Yep, I got to tip my hat to Jason on this one. You got JT to perform and hit pay dirt and scored a touchdown and got you 29 points.
He's back to looking like, I know, Mike, you said you didn't watch any football this week, but JT looked like JT.
Good.
There was still a little hesitation in hitting some holes, but he definitely looked like, was it 2021 JT?
Yeah, the numbers were there. What was he? It should show me 18 and 75. I mean, that's not a bad per carry average there. So I'm sure the more reps he gets, the more comfortable he'll be, and the stronger he'll get as the season goes on. Moving to another interdivision matchup with all kinds of implications here. So the winner of this matchup is going to be leading the AFC South. Dustin goes into the night with a 13-point cushion.
Dustin's in a 2-point slide, right? Or a 2-game slide.
Yeah,
he's definitely looking to not finish 0-3 in 3 weeks. I can tell you that one. There was a lot left on the board in terms of Eric starters. He started Sam Howell. Against New York's defense should be pretty good, but for some reason, New York was playing football. The Giants were playing football this week and wanting to start Howell over Baker.
Yeah, that was kind of a wild one. That was another one. I don't know. Some people called it.
It's going to be a game tonight. I mean, they both got two players left. Dustin's got Warner and Burks, both of his linebackers left, and Eric's got Addison and Hunter. Hunter alone is averaging 28 points a week. So
he's been a monster.
That he has been a monster, and he could very well overcome that 13 points very quickly.
Yeah, Addison has been a little disappointing since Jefferson has been on the shelf, but it's just a matter of time. You got to think again, the youth and with the opportunities, something's going to come out of that eventually. So maybe you get a breakout night out of Addison, but we'll see. That one's a fun one for sure.
That'll be a fun one, and that one may go late tonight.
Yeah.
It may even I know we say this often, but it may come down to stat corrections throughout the week.
By the way, we have not had one of those stat corrections yet this year.
Looking forward to it, honestly.
Looking forward to it as long as it's not me, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey.
I have been on the receiving end, not necessarily our league, but the receiving end of a stat correction playoff loss. There is nothing worse than that, trust me. So, yeah, don't let that happen to you. This is another one that is over. I don't see this one changing a whole lot with both teams having 2 to play and the Patriots having a 52-point lead on the Dolphins.
It's a good showing for Joey, and what it's going to do is just going to tighten up the NFC or the AFC East there. The way things are going to shake out after this week, all 4 teams are probably going to be within a game of each other with a doubleheader conference week coming up next week. So there's still a lot to be played out here in the AFC East.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our next matchup. But with Joey finishing the job here, that's, of course, going to tie both teams at 4-4, which makes this next matchup even more interesting. And that is the Jets versus Bills. Another huge matchup here with a 21-point lead by Jeremy. There's a lot that could change here, though.
But if Jeremy holds on to this game here, if Jeremy holds on to this game, he goes to 5-3, drops Braxton down to 5-3. Like I said, puts all four of those teams within a game of each other, and they're all playing each other twice next week within that conference. So, there could be a lot of drama in the East on how this plays out next week. So, Jeremy's got one player left. He's got a wide receiver, and I think he's the Niners receiver.
Yeah, Ayuk.
Yep. And then the Jets have got his defensive tackle, Lowry, and a corner, Bynum, both playing tonight. So,
yeah, and Bynum's been a monster so far this year, too. That guy's had several huge weeks. Okay, so, Dave, we got to put out the bleeding, buddy.
Dude,
put out that fire.
It's killing me.
Is that 5 in a row?
It's soon to be 5 or 6. I don't know. Hey, the good thing is I've got Nick on my schedule next year or next weekend, and Nick always brings out the best team in me. But I do want to point out that you see this. There is no Bijan jersey on tonight. That's because there was no Bijan jersey on the field yesterday.
Oh, give him some slack. The boy
they give him he's got a little headache, and they held him back the whole game. He had one carry for 3 yards. So to all the Bijan owners in fantasy world, I'm not the only one bitching and griping about it. But had he played, it probably wouldn't have changed anything the way Dan was kicking me around yesterday. So kudos to Dan in this game.
Yeah, but that's such a weird scenario, though, right? Because he gets one garbage carry towards the end of the game.
At the end of the game,
no injury designation the entire week.
Well, the NFL's checking into it today. All my Falcon sites were showing up that the Falcons are being questioned about it, when they knew and why they didn't disclose it.
A lot of it, from what I understand, was during warm-ups.
No, it started the night before. He had a headache and wasn't feeling good. And then everything I read, they didn't even give him a COVID test yet. So And then the worst part about it, they don't report it. And, I've got Algier that if I knew he wasn't going to play, I could have thrown Algier in there. 23 points wouldn't have made a difference, but I would have felt better watching the game, instead of saying, put him in. So, anyways.
Yeah, and Dan once again with great depth, but wrong QB choice. I don't know if they'll ever get it right. And no shots at him.
In his defense, he did start his stud this week. We told him 2 weeks in a row to start your stud, and he stayed away from Joshua Dobbs. Give him credit there; he did listen, but he chose the wrong time to listen. I will say that.
Yeah. I mean, Goff even dropped back and threw the ball 53 times to only have an interception to show for it. Man. That's rough. That is rough. Whew. But, I mean, he got the W. We're only giving him a hard time because we can, and he's got 3 very viable quarterbacks here. So it's a tough decision for him weekly. So, all right. And then our last one here is Nick, who's going to cruise into the victory column and may end up being our highest scoring team, sitting here at 270 with 4 to play.
Well, Nick came in as a 98-point favorite, and I guess the question is he going to cover that or not? And my guess is he probably is going to cover that.
Yeah, frankly, I didn't even look at who he has left because this one's kind of in the bag. But what a low-scoring week fantasy-wise, right? Like, how many teams are actually going to eclipse 300?
So,
3?
Not many. But I do want to point something out on Gavin's team here. And his cornerback, he was led by Kenny Moore, his cornerback, who had 35 points, which is outstanding for a corner on the week. And I just want to point this out that this was Kenny Moore just a couple weeks ago was Las Vegas trash that got dumped and his salary dumped, and Gavin picked him up. So, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And I think Kenny's looking pretty good for Gavin. So kudos to Gavin, and
kudos to Gavin by outbidding me by 80,000.
Yeah, but what what's going on in Vegas? I don't know, but guess he's not good enough to play over for Aaron. So.
Yeah, and he got some great play out of Lamar once again, who's done very well since getting traded from the Chiefs over here.
Now pulling apart Nick's team here, I want to point something out just so he has it. My man Troy Anderson goes down earlier this year, and he's out for the year, and he goes out and gets replaced by Nate Landon, an undrafted rookie. And Nick goes out and picks him up, and he has scored double digits for Nick each of the last 4 weeks. He had another 25 points out of, right there, 25 points out of an undrafted rookie on a minimum salary, $1,080,000. It's ridiculous. I hate Nick having this type of garbage luck. So.
He'll tell you it's research.
Yeah, I'm sure it is research. He did beat me to picking him up, but that's garbage, and throw it in my face all the time.
Well, I mean, this guy's starting, even if he's going to win, he's starting Josh McDaniels as his coach. So we need to throw him under the bus just for that.
Just for that?
Yeah.
Well, he is playing Kyle Pitts now, the unicorn, and he is starting to get some points, and Kyle's actually getting some action on the weekends also too.
He looked good this last week too. I
don't know if you've seen the highlights, but he did catch one behind his back, which was just insane.
He palmed it too. I thought initially he propped it up against his back, but he palmed the football out of thin air, which
it was just crazy. And then Myles Garrett goes off for him for 58 points. It's just not right. So, anyways, Dan, I'm rooting for you next week when you play Nick.
Just noticing Brents didn't even record a tackle in that game. With 39 points on the board, shouldn't a corner at least have a tackle? What am I missing there?
You would think.
Weird.
Also, does MDFL not track blocks?
Yeah, passes deflected.
No, field goal blocks. because Myles Garrett did leap over the Colts offensive line and have a block.
Click on the
Maybe
click on the
that's what that is.
5840.
Oh yeah.
Click on the 5840. Yeah,
Mhm.
he's got
Oh yeah, it does. Okay, yeah.
blocked field goals right there.
Wow.
Heck, reading that's probably more than what my defense put up this week.
And 2 forced fumbles, one of the 3 that Minshew had.
He almost
Gosh.
covered that for a touchdown as well. I think one of his
Ugh.
fellow defensive linemen recovered that in the end zone.
Ugh. And this guy's starting the Broncos offense too. Man, for a good team, we got McDaniels as a coach and the Broncos offense. Ooh. Ooh. All right. Enough giving people a hard time. Let's look forward to next week's matchups, where we've got some doubleheader action going on.
Doubleheader conference games, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm going to be facing off against the Broncos and the Chargers. That is going to be quite the matchup between me and Sean, especially if he pulls out tonight, because then we would be the 2-7-1 teams. So that would be interesting as heck. And then, as Dave alluded to, he gets Nick next week, so I expect his team to be back on track.
Yep, my team should always puts up good teams whenever we play Cincinnati. Nick just brings out the best of my team, so I'll shoot
Dave
for that 400-point mark again.
Dave is already screenshotting where Nick is a 14.3-point favorite. He's hanging it in the locker room.
That is locker room material right there.
I can see it now. It's going to be play like you're playing the Bengals today. He's going to have that above the banner above the tunnel.
Well, the other one is Nick. Nick's also got Dan next week, and 60-point. They're giving Nick as a 60-point favorite over Dan. I'm not buying it. If I get 60 points, I'm taking Dan in that game. Might even take Dan straight up the way Dan's been playing.
Wow.
If he picks his quarterback right.
Well, and we already said that there's no bye weeks that week, right?
Right. No bye weeks that week. So everybody's fresh.
Buys next week.
That's wild because the points for is barely a spread. Like on the season, he's only got a difference of 66 points, which is less than 10 points a week, but they're giving him a 60-point cushion. That's wild.
Well,
I don't understand.
I'm taking Dan and the points.
I'm with you.
If anybody wants to take that bet.
No. I don't. I do not. It's going to be a lot closer than that. That one's kind of throwing me off for sure.
Well, get yourself into the AFC East and how that thing's going to unplay with everybody within one game of each other.
No kidding. Yeah, that one is pretty wild. So, yeah, Rich versus Jeremy here is going to be fun.
Rich is favored against Braxton as well, but only I think that's probably because Rich is at home maybe that week. So they're giving him 3 points.
Yeah, there's going to be a huge amount of shakeup in the AFC East next week. Huge amount of shakeup.
It's crazy. This doubleheader stuff can change everything up, especially when they're conference games.
Mm-hmm. So just for fun, let's just go to I wanted to go to a little bit just to look at who scored the most points this week. Maybe a new thing.
Click on the 7 right there.
About. Yeah. Myles Garrett, no surprise there. Seemed like he was in the backfield all night.
Mahomes is there. Travis Kelce. I think Jeremy has learned his lessons to play Jeremy or Travis Kelce now. Oh, no, that's Braxton. My bad.
Hopefully.
Especially on National Tight Ends Day, Mahomes loves feeding Kelce on National Tight Ends Day.
Braxton's got over the Taylor Swift thing, and he's going to start him now.
How about Donta Foreman showing up? Man, quite the showing against the hapless Raiders. Although I will say I'm still going to make fun of Eberflus for putting in Nathan Peterman at the end of the game just to down the ball at the end of regulation. And when asked about it, he said he needed a rep. He's a 28-year-old, but he needed that rep.
What do you need the rep for?
Right.
Well, I'm sure that's
No
going to be
idea.
used in his contract negotiations when it comes to negotiations, that he got that extra snap on the final play.
He might get paid as a designated kneeler. They're just going to send him in to close out games. Just take a knee for us, bud.
Does MDFL have a stat for that?
They should. They should. And then, of course, my highest scorer was on the bench. I'm losing faith in Jerome Baker, and then he gets a pick 6 last night against Hertz. Now, he got lucky, right place, right time. It was a deflected ball that he returned, but still, that was my highest scorer on the bench. But yeah, just kind of fun to talk about the highest scorers here. Lamar went off, of course. Yeah, Bradley Chubb was on the backfield a lot, but yeah. So speaking of that game last night, Jason, didn't you have some commentary about how the
Oh
refs did
man.
this week? I mean,
Oh
their decisions were impeccable, weren't they?
no, they were horrible.
Jason, tell us about those refs. How'd they treat you this week?
Oh man, I don't know how many of you guys watched, but I watched any of the games. I know Mike said he didn't. I don't know how much time you have to watch games on Sunday, Dave. But my Sundays are usually propped up with Red Zone and as many highlights as possible because I just love watching the game. And first off, Colts game, 2 absolutely horrendous calls at the end of the game, giving the Browns the game. Illegal contact in the end zone was thrown after the ball was recovered by the Colts, which was great. And then the uncatchable pass interference, defensive pass interference. The ball bounced outside of the white into the stands, and they're saying it was pass interference. Absolutely great.
Yeah, he was 3 or 4 steps out the back of the end zone, and the ball was still 5 feet above his head.
Oh yeah, it was.
That one was pretty bad.
That was deliberate. Yeah, hey, you guys, we bet on this game for you guys. Then you've got the next one was the Steelers-Rams game. Najee Harris definitely didn't get back to the line of scrimmage, and they gave him a yard. And they refused to show the side view of the chains as well, which kind of goes to question.
And then, of course, last night where the Eagles didn't get a single penalty called on them.
And I think you shared something in our chat earlier about one of the referees being from
Pittsburgh.
Being from, what is that, Layton? It says
he's
which is
from
just
within an hour and a half of Philly, and he's gotten fined for questionable officiating in the past.
I definitely think they need to implement fines for officials at this point. They fine players for illegal hits and and they fine players for absolutely everything. They need to start fining refs for horrible calls because at this point, multiple games this season have come down to an absolutely horrendous call.
Okay, so Jason, wrap this up on the referees. What is your primary feeling about these referees?
It feels like 2012 again, and I don't know what's going on, but we have the replacement refs back, I guess, is what I'm going with here.
I said the league fined him, which was incorrect. He's actually been suspended before for previously unethical refereeing. I need to look into that because not every meme is 100% accurate. I'll do
some looking really quick.
With the point spreads and money being bet on FanDuel all the time, you got to question it. I mean, there's been questionable calls. Whether you get your within 3 points or out of 3 points, taking a field goal when a field goal does you no good. So who knows who's got money on which game?
He was suspended by the NCAA for horrible calls during the Clemson Pitt game, which he's from that area, the Pennsylvania area. They were suspended. There's a lot going on the internet right now in terms of Dwayne. His name's Dwayne Height. I'll put it out there, but
Put it out there.
His name's Dwayne Height, and there's a lot of questions on him, not only in NFL games but also other varying levels, and college being one of those.
And of course, we talked about before we started the stream how it looked like the Eagles' right tackle. It was like deja vu from week 1 of the
it was horrible.
Lions game, where their right tackle was getting that right foot started before the snap on almost every play.
Every pass, and the thing is it's blatant to know that it's every passing play as well. So I mean, I guess if you're Miami, you kind of look at that and say you automatically know if it's a run or a pass. But you definitely, as an offensive lineman, start in a different spread, running versus passing, which makes it obvious. But then you also have the starting early when it's a pass play, because he couldn't handle Jalen Phillips, just like how the Chiefs' offensive lineman couldn't handle Aiden Hutchinson.
Crazy stuff. It does make you wonder, especially with sports betting being so much more prevalent. It really makes you, it throws up red flags, is what it does, for sure.
Absolutely does.
All right, guys. This has been our week 7 recap. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we sign off?
Just looking forward to a doubleheader weekend and having the Steelers get off the schneid and take it to the Bengals.
Yeah, doubleheader week was a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to next week. There will be a lot to talk about. Hopefully a lot of drama going into that Monday night game. Should be a fun weekend.
Yep.
Let's just hope we don't get boned by the refs again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what color are the refs going to come out in tonight?
Okay, guys. Well, appreciate everybody that stopped in to watch, or anybody that watches it after the stream is over. If you want to give us a like, that's really cool as well, even though there's only like 10 of you that watch, maybe. But we appreciate it nonetheless. It's been fun doing these. I'm looking forward to finishing out the season with these. So for the Not Your Father's, I did it. I named the stream after that freaking stupid root beer, and here I am. I knew I would fudge up the name of the podcast at least once. It was bound to happen. All right. So for the Not Your Mother's Day League podcast, I've been Mike. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Bye.